Before you scroll, before you move to the next video, listen carefully. I know you've seen hundreds of stories online. You've heard testimonies, conspiracies, horror tales, and maybe you think this is just another one. But it's not. Because if you're here right now, it's not by chance. Something led you here. And maybe, just maybe, that something is God trying to reach you before it's too late. This is not a story about religion. It's not even a story about me. It's about how light and darkness are not what they seem, and how one wrong step, one naive choice can open a door that changes everything. My name is Rebecca Collins, and what I'm about to tell you isn't a movie. It happened to me, and I can still feel the cold in my bones when I remember it. When I was a teenager, I didn't believe in evil. I thought demons were myths, angels were metaphors, and Halloween was just harmless fun. I was 17, living in Charleston, South Carolina, a normal American girl in a quiet town. I liked music, romance movies, and long drives by the river. But what I didn't know was that the devil doesn't come to people who believe in him. He comes for the ones who don't. Everything began on a warm Friday afternoon when I met a girl named Lila. She was beautiful, magnetic, confident, the kind of person who made every room feel like a secret. Her eyes sparkled when she talked about energy, frequencies, and the universe. She told me that the church had lied to people, that true spirituality was about freedom and light. I wanted to believe her because she made it sound good. And good things can be the most dangerous lies. She said she belonged to a group that practiced ancient knowledge, people who had found the truth. I was curious, and she invited me to one of their meetings. Nothing religious, she said. Just open-minded people who understand light. That night, I entered a world that looked harmless, but wasn't. It was the kind of place the devil builds carefully, beautiful, peaceful, full of smiles, because real evil doesn't scare you. It seduces you. When I walked into that house, candles glowed like stars. Soft music played. Everyone smiled at me as if they'd known me forever. They called themselves the Circle of Light, and they told me that I was special, that I had been chosen for something divine. All they asked was that I repeat a few phrases. I am light. The light is in me. I am one with the source. It felt poetic, spiritual, empowering. But that's how deception works. It never looks like evil. It looks like everything you've been searching for. If you've ever trusted someone who led you the wrong way, write "I understand" in the comments. That's how YouTube decides whether this message should reach more people, so help me spread it. From that night on, I kept going back. The meetings were peaceful, yet something deep inside me felt wrong. They spoke about freedom, but every time I left, I felt emptier. They said we were children of light, but their eyes were cold. Then one day, Lila invited me to their most important night, the Festival of Renewal. She said it was a time of rebirth, of connection with the true light. I didn't know that she was talking about Halloween. To them, October 31st wasn't about costumes and candy. It was the Satanic New Year, the night when the veil between worlds was thinnest, when power could be transferred, when souls could be claimed. That night changed my life forever. I remember driving deep into the woods with Lila and a few others. There was laughter in the car, soft music, incense smoke. But when we arrived, the atmosphere shifted. The forest was dark, silent, and full of eyes I couldn't see. Candles formed a giant circle around a stone altar. People whispered words that made my heart pound. Then they brought a woman forward, young, pale, trembling. She looked pregnant. The leader, the black priest, raised a silver dagger. Everyone started chanting. My body went numb. I tried to move, but it felt like invisible hands held me still. And then I realized, this wasn't light. This was darkness disguised as enlightenment. I ran. I didn't look back. I just ran through the trees until I collapsed, but escaping the woods didn't mean escaping what had entered me that night. From then on, I was haunted. I saw shadows, heard voices, woke at 3:33 a.m. every night, the same hour the rituals had started. I tried to pray, but every time I said Jesus, something inside me would choke. Months later, I thought I could start over. But darkness doesn't let go easily. One night, driving home after work, exhausted, I fell asleep behind the wheel. I opened my eyes seconds before the car crashed into a wall. I screamed, but then I felt it. Something grabbed my hands, turning the steering wheel. The car stopped. I sat there crying, shaking, unable to breathe. And then I heard it. Not from outside, but inside my soul. I saved you because you still have something to say. That voice. I knew it. It wasn't human. It was Jesus. I cried until I couldn't anymore. Right there, I understood. He had never abandoned me. Even in the darkest moments, he was watching, waiting, fighting for me. The next morning, I threw away everything from that life. Books, candles, symbols, jewelry. I went to a small church nearby, sat in the last pew and wept. A woman came and prayed over me. When she said the name of Jesus, I screamed and felt something leave my body, like chains snapping. Then there was silence. Peace. Real peace. For the first time in years, I could breathe. Since then, my eyes have been opened. I see the same symbols I once saw in those rituals: triangles, eyes, hands in music videos, movies, and brands. The world calls it art. I call it a warning. Because evil doesn't hide anymore. It entertains. It sells comfort, pleasure, rebellion, and it works. People say Halloween is harmless fun. But I know what happens in the spiritual world that night. While the world plays with darkness, true darkness celebrates the world. I was part of the society that hated Jesus, but he saved me. And now I live to tell the truth. I was blind, but now I see. I was lost, but now I'm found. And I want you to know, no matter where you are, no matter what you've done, there's still time. Call on his name. Say, Jesus, open my eyes. Save me, because the same voice that saved me that night might be calling you right now. My name is Rebecca Collins, and I never imagined that something as innocent as love could lead me into the deepest darkness of my life. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, in a small neighborhood where the church bells rang every Sunday morning and people waved at each other from their porches. My mom always said God had a plan for everyone, but I often wondered if he had forgotten about me. I was a quiet girl, dreamy, lonely, and hungry for meaning. I wanted to belong somewhere. That's when I met Lila. She was beautiful in a strange, magnetic way. Long black hair, green eyes that looked like they could read souls. She seemed confident, mysterious, free. She talked about the universe, energy, and how everything was connected. I had never met anyone like her. She made me feel alive, special, chosen. At first, I thought she was simply spiritual, someone who loved life and nature. But I was wrong. One night, she invited me to a gathering. She called it the Celebration of Light. She said it was a place where people opened their minds to the truth beyond religion. I was curious, and honestly, I trusted her. So I went. The house was old, hidden among tall oaks on the edge of town. Candles flickered through the windows. When I walked inside, a strange smell filled the air, something sweet, like burning herbs. About 20 people stood in a circle, dressed in white robes, whispering in unison. Symbols were drawn on the floor. It looked peaceful, even holy. Someone smiled at me and said, "Welcome, Sister of the Light." They told me I had been chosen to receive illumination. They asked me to repeat after them, "I am light. The light is in me. I am one with the source." It sounded poetic, harmless, beautiful even. But that night marked the beginning of my descent into something I couldn't have imagined. Every time I repeated their words, I was unknowingly making vows I didn't understand. I started going back. The people were kind. They made me feel important. They said I was part of a special generation, souls awakened to restore balance to the earth. But slowly the tone began to change. The prayers became darker, the rituals stranger. They burned objects, chanted names that weren't from the Bible, and often ended their meetings in complete silence, eyes closed, waiting for a presence to arrive. One day, Lila told me I had proven myself ready. She invited me to their most sacred night, the Festival of Renewal. She said it was a celebration of light conquering death. But that night, I discovered what that light truly was. It was Halloween, October 31st. While kids dressed as monsters and neighbors handed out candy, we drove into the woods outside the city. They said that was the night when the veil between worlds was thinnest, the night when illumination was renewed. The place was terrifyingly beautiful, hundreds of candles surrounding a flat stone altar. The air felt heavy, almost electric. People whispered, their voices blending with the sound of the wind. Then a woman stepped forward, young, pregnant, trembling. Her face was blank, her eyes hollow. The leader, a man they called the Black Priest, raised his hands and began chanting in a language I had never heard. When he lifted a silver dagger, I realized I was standing in the middle of something demonic. Everything in me screamed to run, but my body froze. I felt like invisible chains were holding me still. Then, as if God himself shouted in my mind, I heard the words, "Get out!" And I ran. I ran through the forest barefoot, crying, until I saw the first light of dawn. That night broke something in me.